The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
Another episode of the Chokeslam Wrestling Report via my YouTube channel, Wrestling Podcast, and today we are going to be talking about the events that happened on Wednesday and what is this going to do for WWE, the effect of it. Now, we're talking about the situation that happened in beach-breaking AEW Dynamite show on Wednesday. Now, before I start, a lot of you guys have been subscribing to my channel, and I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel. I reached out to 100 subscribers. Finally, it was a long road, but at the same time, I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel. Again, when I do these videos, leave your comments, even if they're negative or positive. You have the right for your opinion. Just be respectful. But if you guys want to follow me, again, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Chokeslam Wrestling Report, so I'm there. And you can also find me on the Joners Podcast Network, the WrestlingJoners.com. You can find me there. You can find my audio podcast. That's another podcast that I have. It's just audio. I do drops there on the weekends and on Thursdays. I do the AEW Dynamite review. So, you got a lot of ways to get into listening to my podcast. Also, you guys, I have merchandise on my Chokeslam Wrestling Report podcast t-shirt that I have on tcwr.veryinkpressive.com. Again, that's tcwr.veryinkpressive.com. So there you go. You got all my information. So let's get started right away. Let's talk about what's going on in the wrestling world. Let's start off with what's going on, first of all, with WWE. We know what happened last week. WWE announced that they sold the network to Peacock. And during this time, since all this stuff is going on, they still making money. I mean, I don't know how, but they're still making money. Now, yesterday they announced, that they had 23 million people watching the spectacular event, whatever it was. But I mean, sometimes they exaggerate with the numbers because they're known for that, and the numbers turn out to be less than what it is. But they came to 23 million people watch this spectacular event a couple of weeks ago, and if it did, I mean, of course they featured some of the Indian descent wrestlers in there, so maybe that's one of the reasons why people watch it. But I know a lot of people in the United States did not watch this, not at all. This probably came international. They probably saw that, but this is a little stuff that WWE's been doing. But also, if you guys been watching since September of 2019, what WWE has been doing, and that's been, especially McMahon has started a war with AEW. He wanted to get rid of AEW. He put NXT in the middle of this supposedly war, and he pretty much gutted out NXT. NXT has not been the same in the last 2 years. But the talented stars they had there, he pretty much gutted them out. And he bring them up, and you same wrestlers you saw in NXT, like Ricochet, the War Machines, and all these guys are not the same. Okay, so I'm just giving you a head start of what's going on here. Now, the pandemic hit last year. That kind of slowed down everything. WWE, was showing shows that looked secluded in some performance center. A lot of the wrestlers got sick with the pandemic, but they still was running NXT. They were still running at Raw, SmackDown, whatever. Meanwhile, AEW, that through the pandemic, I mean, I'm very surprised. So a company that had just started, probably 4 or 5 months before that, they were able to maintain the audience that they had, and that's what you call loyalty. A lot of their shows in the beginning of March through the pandemic wasn't great. They looked like AEW dark shows, but then after April came, and then everything, the TNT tournament started and all that. Ever since that, everything has kind of progressed a little bit. They had I mean, they brought in Rusev, they brought in FTR, they brought in Lance Archer, they brought Brian Cage, they brought a bunch of guys. Okay, now they got a massive roster, and a lot of those guys you can't use, so that's still at its thing in there. Now, since winter is coming, okay, before that, Tony Khan made an announcement online that the paradigm shift or the shift was turning, that the wrestling world was going to have a shift. When he meant that, what did he really mean? Everybody was like wondering. I had a friend of mine hit me up talking about, oh, Kenta's showing up tonight. He's going to beat up Jon Moxley. And in reality, at that time, the New Japan borders were not open yet. Well, it looked like they weren't open back then. I didn't know how the hell Kenta and the rest of the Gorillas went from Florida up to Japan. I guess they went to a private plane, but the company was not going to go back and forth with a private plane. So that wasn't supposedly the shift. Now, well, apparently it was, because we saw what happened this week. But so when he said that, he announced that there was going to be a shift in the power struggle in the professional wrestling world. We didn't know it was going to be what it is today. Okay, we went from winter is coming. Kenny Omega wins the AEW title. He goes to next week to Impact. He talks about collecting magazines. So he pretty much was saying he was going to be collecting belts. But at the same time, he meant it's like in between that promo, he claimed like he was going to be the Infinity Gauntlet, the guy who's going to grab all the jewels and put it in the big glove and control the whole wrestling universe. And he said, as long as you're a wrestler and you got a title, this world belongs to me. Well, what's been happening the last couple of weeks has been incredible. Not only he went to Impact and made headlines there, but then him, Tama Tonga, the Good Brothers, they all played us, because they made it look like, Tama Tonga made it look like, oh, this is bullcrap, you're not the real Bullet Club. Omega and Good Brothers were wearing Bullet Club merchandise, even though Omega wore an old ass Halloween Bullet Club. Carl Anderson had a sweater with the Bullet Club on it, and I was like, yo, what the hell's going on? And meanwhile, Tama Tonga is on Twitter talking about there's no loyalty, betrayal, and all that. So now, let's move on to what happened Wednesday. So there's a 6-man tag on Wednesday between Phoenix, Pac, and Moxley against Omega and the Good Brothers. At the end, Lance Archer popped out of nowhere, which left me wondering why Lance Archer is coming out to help Moxley. But then I remember that he had teamed up with Pac and Phoenix as part of that team. So he started going at it with Luke Gallows. Moxley looked like he was about to put Omega out again with another paradigm shift, and out of nowhere, some hooded guy with a mask on hits Moxley from behind, and the next thing it turned out to be Kenta. Now, everybody was like, oh my God, Kenta's dead, whatever. But if you think about it, it was bound to happen. And again, there was a lot of things that happened since last Friday. Let's put it since last Friday. Last Friday, supposedly, Moxley showed up at New Japan Strong, and he took out Kenta. Now you got to ask this question. Supposedly, in Moxley's contract, it said that Moxley cannot compete in the United States, but could compete in New Japan. And now the shows in New Japan Strongs are done in LA Dojo, the LA Dojo. So this is in the United States. I didn't think about that. Then I remember mentioning in my audio podcast that there was going to be a wrestling match between these two guys, Kenta and Moxley, on February 26th in Oceana, California. And again, it didn't hit me. Moxley is competing in the United States when supposedly his contract does not allow him to wrestle for New Japan in the United States. Then all of a sudden that happened on Wednesday where Kenta attacked Moxley. Little do we know that the next morning Dave Meltzer claims that New Japan and AEW ended up working together anyway because Moxley had the United States IWGP belt. So they had no choice but to make a deal and have some working relationship, which it helps out everybody. If you think about it, it helps out Impact mostly, and it helps out Ring of Honor, because those are the promotions right now that are suffering when it comes to talent. So you got Impact, you got New Japan Pro Wrestling, and now AEW all working together as one. And the pandemic is not over yet. So Just imagine when the pandemic is over, you're gonna have guys from Bullet Club show up at AEW and whatnot. And as you well could see, you could tell Kenny Omega thought it was all right, it's Bullet Club stuff, whatever. And Kenta told him to shut the hell up. But they're gonna team up next week, Omega and Kenta against Lance Archer and Moxley, which is gonna be a crazy match. But now my question is, what does this does for WWE? Because I mean, WWE right now is probably looking at all this and saying to themselves, "Oh, we're not worried about it," because that's what they make you believe, that they're not worried about it, you know. And then I heard trolls and think, "Oh, WWE, New Japan's is copying of WWE." No, New Japan's been around since 1972. 1972. So New Japan was already mainstreaming already before WWE, before the whole Kamina era, before the Attitude era. They've been out there, and they had great matches. Antonio Inoki, the Stan Hansen, the Bruiser Brodies, all those guys were out there already making Japan the way it is. Andre the Giant used to be out there. So this happens when you got people, wrestling fans that don't know the history of wrestling. And then you got the hardcore loyalist WWE fans that no matter how bad WWE is, they still think it's good. And right now, WWE is riding on the nostalgia part of all these old wrestlers. You saw the Royal Rumble. You saw the majority of the wrestlers they went in that Rumble were in their 40s. You didn't see, and then to top it off, what's worse, they didn't have Keith Lee in the Rumble. Why you didn't have Keith Lee in the Rumble? That's one thing you're going to ask. And now they go, if you think about it, with all the stuff that McMahon was focusing in 2019, and he didn't see the pandemic. Nobody saw the pandemic coming. He didn't know this was going to happen. Okay? Right now, it's on Thursday's rating, AEW destroyed NXT this week. Destroyed them. They were number 3 on TV cable. Number 3, AEW. And the show wasn't that good. Only toward the end. It was average. What that tells you, that McMahon took NXT and put them in the front lines to battle another company, okay? And he put SmackDown. He didn't put Raw because he knew that if you put SmackDown Raw, you may not get your ratings would have went down. He didn't take that chance. So now all of a sudden, McMahon decides to sell the network, which was a failure. And I'm gonna keep saying anybody could tell me, oh, it wasn't for 6 years, and you only had 1.6 million people subscribe. You should have had at least 10, 15 million since 2014. Okay? And you only got 600,000 international. Okay? 1 million here in the United States. So you sell Peacock. Okay? You get a $1 billion for the next 5 years. Right? Then to top it off, now there might be a possibility that NXT may be taken out of the USA Network and put in the Peacock Network. Okay, that means less people are going to watch it. Whoever don't have Peacock are not going to be watching NXT. Okay, and then to top it off, okay, he's going to be working on this WrestleMania. But look at things in WrestleMania already here that he think this is cool. You know, have Bad Bunny, a reggaeton artist, to wrestle in a wrestling ring, even though he did a nice body press off the top rope of the Royal Rumble. But an artist is going to be in the ring, and most likely he's probably going to end up teaming with Booker T to fight Morrison and The Miz. What that tells you. What, again, is this whole thing, there's infinitely gauntlet, I call it, okay, between New Japan, Impact Wrestling, NWA, AEW, AAA, CMML, Ring of Honor, all these groups together as one. Are they going to try to battle WWE? No, they're not going to try to battle WWE. You can't battle WWE. WWE is a corporate machine. And if McMahon sees that, he's going to be, well, I'm going to do this. And he's going to come up with some. But McMahon has been running out of idea. He's out of touch with wrestling today. All he thinks is sports entertainment. And what's happening now in what they call the so-called indies, because I don't call AEW indies, or New Japan Pro Wrestling indies, is what's happening right now with all that is the writing on the wall. As long as McMahon continues to run WWE, the ratings are going to keep declining. You're going to have WWE loyalists. Listen, I know a lot of you guys, I get thrown a lot of nasty messages, a lot of nasty comments about WWE, whatever, but Think about it. I mean, I don't lose sleep over this, but because I know what I speak here is the facts. WWE right now, if you look at that Rumble this week was not that great. It wasn't. It wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't great. The women's was horrible. I didn't like the way the women's was. I mean, it was cool to see Victoria, which I'm a mark for. I met her in person a couple of times. But I mean, last year's let me put it this way, last year's Royal Rumble was way better than this year, especially with the Brock Gauntlet that he had going. That was a nice storyline. And at the end, of course, Drew McIntyre threw out Brock Lesnar. This year, they wrestled and you didn't know who was going to win. And then you end up pushing Edge to win the Royal Rumble. For what? Is he going to fight Drew McIntyre or is he going to fight Roman Reigns? I mean, if he wrestles Drew McIntyre, so you're putting another old guy against Drew McIntyre. Why don't you put Edge against Roman Reigns? Spear versus Spears. That would be a better product. But we don't know what's going to happen. Supposedly Edge showed up at NXT, I think, or a tag team, whatever the case may be. But you see it. You see it. Where's Aleister Black? Number one. Nowhere to be found. Now, again, is this situation where you got all these promotions getting together, is that going to affect WWE after WrestleMania? Because WrestleMania season, they're going to make it as best as they can, especially now they might get 25,000 people in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. So they're going to try to push it as best as they can, even though it's a 2-night event. But I'm hearing they're going to stay away from the nostalgia thing. Because Goldberg came back, and Goldberg looked like my Uncle Dave and whatnot. Because he looks horrible. He didn't look trained. He looked like some guy with some short who came into the ring. It was horrible. So WWE has become the senior citizen circuit right now, if you think about it, because now you got all these wrestlers who used to wrestle back in the day making fun of the younger wrestlers who WWE is not pushing because they're playing video games. It goes to show you, where is this company going? And now with this whole thing, Tony Khan said it, the shift is going to change. And I'm watching it already. People are already invested, waiting to see what's going to happen next. You know how crazy we would look once the pandemic is over, that the whole Bullet Club shows up at AEW and attacks Omega again, and the Good Brothers turn on Omega. There's so many possibilities. I know you guys are going to be like, oh, but y'all got Sting. All right, so we got Sting. AEW got Sting. Okay? But you have Goldberg. You have Undertaker used to come back. Who else? We saw Carlito, who hasn't wrestled 10 year Edge, like in his 40, almost close to 50. WWE has more old guys wrestling because they need a nostalgia. That's what they did the Legends Night, the beginning of the year. And they got a good pop, they got a good rating, but it's because the old school people want to watch their favorites. But what this does the rest of the year? Because after WrestleMania, what are they going to do? The Money in the Bank event is worthless. You see what they're doing with the Money in the Bank briefcase. But all this is it's still, people may not think it's going to affect WWE, but it is. And when McMahon finds himself against the wall or something, he's going to take drastic measures, and he doesn't care who gets hurt in the process, because he doesn't care about the fans. I've been saying this for almost months and months. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care about the fans, because if he would have cared about the fans, Lars Sullivan, who got let go, should have been fired a long time ago. Same thing with Velveteen Dream. He should have gotten fired a long time ago with the charges and the accusations. They don't care. All they care is about the money. Okay? They don't care. You know what I'm saying? And now they're letting another guy, I think they let some Tucker or whatever his name is, the guy from Forgiven Sons or whatever, the Forgotten Sons, got let go. So now they're cutting off people. So, and I'm sure AEW is not going to pick up. AEW got too many guys. You're probably going to end up in Impact somewhere. So, it's just crazy. I think it's still going to affect WWE regardless. They're going to, believe me, I'm looking at this summer. It's going to be crazy. New Japan, Impact, and AEW, all three of them working. Let's not forget, you still got NWA in there. Ring of Honor works with New Japan. AAA works with AEW and Impact. CMML works with New Japan. We're talking about CMML and AAA, two companies that are rivals working together as one. For one cause, to bring you great professional wrestling. Something that WWE doesn't want to give you guys. And a lot of you WWE loyalists are stuck in this bubble, and all you know is WWE. It's understandable. You may not, you come at me and tell me, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah. I mean, I got into arguing with people who don't make no sense. They want to bring up, they're $1 million company. So what? They're $1 million company because they are public company. They're in the stock market, so they got to make sure. And then they right now they missed their EP. It's an EP something. It has to do with the stock market. They missed it out in this quarter. I want to hear what they're gonna say now when they have the shares stockholder meeting. Are they gonna come up with more complaints? Are they gonna say, we don't have Brock Lesnar now? Our champion's not that great? Come on, it's nonsense. Anyway, guys, I just came through for my weekly talk about the wrestling world. Again, I want to thank everybody who has been supporting me in this podcast, and I already gave you all my information. I hope you guys listen to this and put your head on this. You know what I'm saying? WWE gives you a couple of matches. Their pay-per-views are not that bad, but this pay-per-view, last pay-per-view they had, the only match that was good that I liked, and even though there was a botch in it, was the Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens match. And the botch part was Roman got handcuffed and Heyman couldn't get him out. And he had the key. But other than that, that match was the best match in the whole Royal Rumble. The whole Royal Rumble. Okay? And you already see, also Charlotte Flair, they already got rid of her with the tag team belts. She'll probably be going right after Asuka's belt. And that's not, it won't be soon when we find out that she's probably challenging Asuka at WrestleMania. So even though Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble, and even that, people are just killing it with this. She touched both feet, hit the floor, or whatever. Who cares? Who cares? She deserved a title shot. They should have put the rocket on her back in Survivor Series, and they didn't. So until then, guys, I want to thank you again for watching my YouTube video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave me your comment. Give me your comments. Leave me your thoughts on this. Do you think it's gonna affect WWE with all this merger with the promotions or working relationship with all these promotions? We're talking about almost 5 or 6 companies maybe working together, and they may be working together not to go after WWE, but just to give fans what they want, and that's professional wrestling. WWE is probably gonna think that they're coming at them, but I don't see it that way. I think they just want to bring wrestling, and these are all the companies that were in an event that happened 3 years ago, and that was All In. Impact was involved, New Japan was involved, NWA was involved, the Ring of Honor, AAA, CMML, all these companies were involved in All Out, and I said it about a year ago. If you guys could go back to all my videos where I said that if we're going to be some type of working relationship with AEW, I've been saying it. I did a video a couple of weeks ago where I said Tony Khan is probably trying to bring like a territory type of wrestling back again, and where they're going to share talent back and forth. You already see Private Parties getting a shot at the Good Brothers at Impact, and they work for AEW. So it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, a real wrestling fan, not a loyalist. And I mean, no matter what, if you're an Impact loyalist and you don't care about any other promotion, listen, wrestling is for everyone. You could cross the lines. So till then, guys, be safe, wear that mask, stay 6 feet apart. Hopefully this pandemic should be over soon, and we get more wrestlers, and we could have independent wrestling. The indies open all the way back, and wrestling could be full effect like it was in 2019. Till then, guys, have a good day, and God bless.